One review. Book one what's about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a spiritual counselor, intuitive coaching, as well as a psychic mediumship. No other than Miss Laura Hoorweg. Welcome, Miss Laura, Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, as you said, I'm a psychic counselor and intuitive. I'm a spiritual counselor and an intuitive coach, and I help people make their lives work. I help them to find their path and their authentic selves and what their mission in the world is.
Mission in the world. I like that, Miss Laura. And thank you so much for guiding people all over the world to find their mission and work it out. Thank you. And today let's talk about a building resilience in changing world. How do you define resilience and why is it more critical now than ever in a rapidly changing world?
Well, resilience is basically not, it's basically being able to go through trauma and problems and come out the other side with growth instead of being brought down by it. So resilience is basically being able to bounce back. And that's really, really important in this world right now, especially because there's so much going on politically, there's so much going on in economies. People are really losing their way. And a lot of people are having a really difficult time, whether it's, um, you know, political drama, war, natural disasters. So people really need to be resilient and have the skills to bounce back from adversity.
Interesting, Miss Laura. What is the difference between surviving change and thriving through it? What separates those two merely endure from those who flourish?
Basically, survival is just keeping it all together and keeping your life. When we talk about thriving, we talk about learning and growing from those experiences and actually coming out of it better than you went in. So, merely surviving is really not enough because you're basically just hanging on by your fingernails and there's no growth or change through that. And usually, actually, when somebody's in survival mode, they often tend to degrade rather than actually flourish and grow.
Flourish and grow. That's what people like. So,
Mm.
Miss Laura, what's the difference? Or, yes, is it resilience something we're born with, or is it skill set that can be developed and strengthened over time?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay. Actually, I think it can be both. I think resilience, some people are born with some natural greater ability than others, but I think resilience too is a very big part learned because you have to personally experience a lot of adversity through your life in order to gain that resilience. So it's kind of a little bit of both. I hadn't thought about that, but I think there are certain people who are born. It's just like, everybody can play basketball. But some
Yes.
people are born with a natural ability. And I think that's actually, I hadn't thought about it that way, but I think it's actually that way with resilience too. It's certain people have a natural ability, but everybody can develop it just through how they deal with adversity and come out the other side.
Just like you being a psychic, right? It's something ability doesn't
Yeah.
have other people. The pace of
Well,
change today, technological, social, or economic, feels unprecedented. How does the constant flux after our ability to build resilience?
Well, it's being faced with this change, and it's not through our human existence, through our history. There's always been change, but it's the really right now. It's the pace of change. And it's like every morning we wake up and the world's a different place. If we look at, things like AI and, politics, and the face of the world is changing and jobs are changing. Um, Everything's changing so rapidly that it's almost a new kind of resilience that we actually have to start developing, because it's not like one single event. It's like many, many events happening all at the same time and at a very rapid pace. So resilience now is more important than ever. And it's really a resilience not just to change and adversity, but to the rapid speed that it's happening at.
The rapid speed. And Miss Laura, let's talk about the building blocks of resilience. What are the foundational elements or practices that creates a genuine resilience, not just appearance of toughness?
Well, what it really is, to build true resilience, you have to build it within yourself. And it's really about building a deep connection with yourself. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. One of the ways that I've found, and that I actually, really recommend to my clients, is meditation. And the reason why meditation is such a powerful tool in building resilience is because it hits basically all four pillars at the same time. And the four pillars are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So if you want to have a strong resilience, you need to have all four of those pillars very strong within yourself, because that's what's going to hold you up when things get rocky. And there's nothing
Yes.
better than I've found than meditation to do that. So that's one of the main things that I recommend to people, because it's a very I would say literally that meditation in many ways actually saved my life at different points in my own life. So again, I'm speaking from personal experience rather than just theory.
How does mindset play into resilience, and what mental frameworks help people adapt to unexpected changes rather than resist them?
I think mindset, the most important thing is to be open-minded and to be accepting. And basically accepting that this is the way that things are, and that change is a constant thing, and that we have to work through with it, as opposed to resisting it, because it's very, very important to have that foundation. Because if you don't accept change as a factor in everyday life, and sometimes in each day, you're always pushing against it, you're going to have a real problem, because you're going to wear yourself out just fighting against something that you're uh, a battle that you're never going to win. So that's really very important.
What role does emotional regulation play in resilience, Miss Laura, and how can people develop the ability to manage stress and anxiety during turbulent times?
Self-regulation is really the key, because if you can't regulate your own emotions, you're not going to be able to help yourself, and you're certainly not going to be able to support others. So this is a very important skill, and I think a lot of people, the way children are being raised, um, now, I think that is a missing component. The children are losing that ability to, because they're not being taught to handle their own emotions. And if you're just losing it, okay, you're not going to be, emotionally, you're not going to be very much help to yourself or anyone around you. And if you want to be a stabilizing factor in your own life and in the life of those that you care about, you really have to learn how to regulate your emotions. Again, meditation is a wonderful tool to use with that. The other thing that I find is really powerful is a very deep and abiding connection with nature. It's incredibly grounding, and it takes away that connection with nature takes away from our overemphasis on electronics and being in a foreign environment, because our whole body system, our energy system was all built with that connection to nature, and we've really lost a lot of that. The way we live today, in a very artificial environments, and always on technology, and living in large cities and all that kind of thing, we've really lost that connection to nature and that groundedness. And that's very, very important for resilience, is staying energetically grounded.
Miss Laura, let's talk about the practical strategies for someone feeling overwhelmed by constant change. What's the first practical step they should take to start building resilience?
I think the first step is to recognize what's within your scope to change and what isn't. And when you realize what you don't have any control over, you have to set those things aside and build a mindset where I'm going to take action on the things that I can control, because that reinforces the sense of the groundedness and actually having some control over your life. So it makes you more resilient to all those things that we just simply, there's so many things in our life that we don't have any control over, but there's definitely a set of things that we do. We can't always control everything that's going on around us, but we certainly can control how we react to those things. And that's very, very important.
How important is having a support system or community in developing resilience, and how can people cultivate those connections intentionally, Miss Laura?
It's incredibly important, because once we've built that foundation within ourselves, we need to build that network around us, that support structure. And that's one of the things that's, again, that's really lacking these days, because we need to get off our phones and actually have real conversations with people. We need to interact with people. Um, Actually having conversations with people. I actually saw a couple boys in the park who were sitting on a park bench. They were around 11 or 12, and they were sitting literally side by side, and they were texting to each other on their phones. Okay. Instead of
Okay.
having a conversation. And this is the kind of thing that we need to get away from, and we need to start rebuilding those human connections directly with each other. Literally, just talking to each other is a huge part, and building friendships, like being able to interact with people. I think coming out of COVID and all that isolationist, and the combination of that and our over dependence on electronics, we need to get back to those real human one-on-one connections.
Yes, people, let's build connection through, well, human to human, not technologies. What daily habits or practices have you found most effective for maintaining resilience in the face of ongoing uncertainty?
Self-care is huge. Okay. Really
Yes.
taking care of you. And it starts with the basics. A huge part of it is making sure you get your proper rest, making sure you're getting high quality sleep. Your diet, and I'm not talking about dieting, calorie reduced diet. I'm talking about eating healthy, fresh, non-processed food, which is huge. Okay, making sure you're getting the proper nutrition. The other key component is exercise. And you don't have to become a decathlon or a marathoner or anything like that. But I'm just talking about daily movement. Um, walking, dancing. Some of the martial arts are wonderful. Yoga is another, incredibly healing, grounding practice. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and all these things can be done and should be done at every age group. Okay, this isn't. I'm talking about every age group, from kids to seniors. Everybody needs to be doing these things to make themselves more resilient in this world. Because one of the biggest parts of, well, there's physical resilience, there's mental resilience, and then there's emotional resilience. And you have to have all of those things in order to have that sphere of resilience around you, because it's made up of those three components.
Miss Laura, as a spiritual counselor, intuitive coaching, psychic mediumship, what are your short term and long term goals?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
What are your short term and long term goals, Miss Laura?
Oh, okay. Goals. Well, I've always said I'm here to help people make their lives work. And I love doing it on a one-on-one basis, because as we build stronger, if you want to help the world, you know, number one, you start with yourself. And then once you've got yourself to a decent level to share your gifts, is to help other people grow. And if we were all doing that in our own way, and it doesn't have to be necessarily doing it in the same way I am, there's all kinds of different ways we could do that. But if we're all helping ourselves and helping others, uh, we can change the world in miraculous ways.
Well, good luck to your goals, Miss Laura. Looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Like me,
Like you.
I don't want anybody necessarily to be like me. I want everybody to be themselves. And I think in our world, that's one of the biggest things, is to have people wholeheartedly be themselves and be in touch with their own gifts, because we all came here for a reason. And everybody has a mission and a gift, a service that they came to offer others. And if we are all openly offering our service of whatever that happens to be to the world would be an incredible place.
Definitely. Let's make Earth incredible place to live. And Miss Laura, thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
I would like to recommend. It's an older book, but I'm sure it's probably still in print. It's a book that's actually it's a spiritual book, but it was actually written by a physicist, Gary Zukov, and it's called Surfing the Himalayas. And it was one of the books that was originally uh, helped me to really get onto my path spiritually. And I call it realistic spiritualism, because it's very practical, because it was written from a more scientific point of view, but it's a very spiritual book, and I really enjoyed that book, so I think others will enjoy it as well.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss Laura. And how to maintain hope and optimism during extended periods of uncertainty without falling into a toxic positivity or denial?
I think we all being all unicorns and rainbows is not going to help you. I think it's really about hope. Okay, it's
Yes.
really about a positive mindset in that things might not be the way you want them at this particular moment, but if you can have hope and imagination for the future, that you can actually imagine things getting better. And sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. But as long as you have that positive outcome in mind, I think you can get through just about anything.
Definitely. And Miss Laura, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my Abstract Essay is already in fifth season, Abstract Poetry in second season, and my Book 101 review in fifth season too, Comedy 101 in second season, and my Food 101 in fifth
Oh my
season as well.
goodness.
Geography 101 and fourth season, as well as my love letters, movie 101 review, and music 101. And my baby podcast, Law 101, mental health 101, and Bible verses 101, and science 101, and sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Laura, beyond just bouncing back to where we were, how can people use change as a catalyst to create an even better version of their lives to truly thrive rather than simply survive?
I think it's a building process. If you can take every challenge in your life, and even if you only gain one gem, like one golden nugget of a lesson out of that, that you can build on that step by step throughout your life, and pretty quickly you end up with a there I like to call it putting tools in your toolbox, or putting tools in your tool chest. And the more tools that you have in there, the more lessons that you've learned through different types of adversity through your life, or even not. We can also learn lessons, and uh, it doesn't necessarily always have to be through adversity. But if you're always looking for the lesson, then I think you're going to end up thriving in the end.
Mm, yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Laura. Hoping for more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your projects,
Sure.
or anything you want to promote on Book 101 Review?
Okay. The best way to probably find out more and get in touch with me is, of course, through my website at www.spiritspeakstome. And I'm sure that Daniel will have all those links, my social links, and my website
Yes.
in the show notes. And there's a lot of information there, and there's all my contact information. So I'd be glad to speak to you and explain, or talk about anything that to connect, and whatever you want to learn.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Laura Hoorweg because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Laura, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Monica, people, see you soon.